might notice the badass girl power of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode. However, when you take a closer look at Laurie's personality, you'll find something more subtly sexist. With the idea of literature and film scholar Carol Clover's Final Girl at the base of analysis, we can explore the concept of the rather misogynistic gender roles expressed throughout these slasher films and in horror, and in Halloween specifically. Clover's influential study of gender stereotypes in her work, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, leaves its audience with the idea that the final girl, who is the sole survivor of the film and its gory antics, is the embodiment of sexism in the slasher movie. As the final girl of Halloween, Laurie Strode is characterized as a non-sexualized maternal figure, expressed through both her encounters with friends and the children she babysits. While nearly all of her peers in the movie, including Michael's older sister, are shown sexualized, Laurie remains chaste. Although the idea of being a caring and supportive individual isn't necessarily sexist in itself, the contrast of Laurie's motherly affection against that of her more reckless and sexualized teenage friends does. The movie perpetuates what we have traditionally encountered in our society as the ideal woman, virginal yet motherly. Despite any surface level of representation of physical strength or intellectual ingenuity throughout the movie, the film's expression of Laurie's character focuses on her classically feminine virtues. In addition to the depiction of Laurie, Halloween utilizes the characterization of Michael Myers, both past and present, to further the sexism of the final girl. Halloween opens with the murder of Michael's topless older sister, Judith, which, not surprisingly, turns out to be sexualized. The viewer sees the events through the eyes of a masked young Michael, who, as is explained in later sequels of the Halloween franchise, is jealous of the lack of attention he receives from his single-parenting mother. This scene, in addition to the scene where Dr. Loomis evaluates Michael's psychological condition, forces the audience to identify with the killer, a tactic of many slasher films used to make the viewer feel more comfortable with the gore and tragedy of the rest of the movie. Noting that Michael is raised in an environment completely surrounded by female figures, it seems only natural that the deranged character must develop this woman-centered anger that later becomes the driving force of the plot. Compounding the hatred for all things feminine with the intentional maneuver to elicit sympathy for Michael's character, Halloween provides the viewer with a reason to enjoy the hack and slash that defines the film's category. Playing on the sexualization of violence, which is eventually contrasted with the non-sexual content of Laurie's character, the movie provides a clear view of the crossroads between villain and victim. Michael's character also creates a connection between Laurie and an innate, unavoidable evil, only escapable by completing the cycle of the final girl. Even then, in the aftermath of the slasher's events, Laurie does not completely rid herself of Michael Myers, hence the many sequels. As the main character of Halloween, she is subjected to the unfortunate intention of her assailant, who attacks her because of their familial ties. Although it remains unrevealed until later sequels of Halloween that Laurie Strode is in fact Michael Myers' younger sister, this family dynamic expresses a deeper understanding of Laurie's relationship with the evil inhabited by Michael's character. Born into the situation, Laurie is unable to avoid her role as Michael's intended victim. By looking closer at this connection between the two, we can see the correlation between Laurie's inescapable fate as the final girl and Michael's unyielding and malicious violence. The final scene of the movie, perhaps one of the most famous of the slasher films, features a screaming Laurie Strode running throughout the house and narrowly avoiding death by angry older brother. As per her mothering character, she instructs the children to flee her house as she lives up to the reputation of the true final girl. Though Laurie's character doesn't exactly match what Carol Clover explains as the victim hero, who strives to overcome the villain after being tortured and victimized earlier in the film, she does follow the idea of the overpowering female lead. Although the viewer sees Laurie's character epically stab Michael with her knitting needles, note the subtle hints of domesticity, she is not the final person to supposedly kill Michael Myers. When Dr. Loomis intervenes with the 6 gunshots, forcing Michael to fall out of the second-story window, and is